So I was browsing on YouTube and I ran across this video from some dude, and I got it up, named LEMMiNO or something like that. Which I should subscribe to, buddy. Long story, he has 5 million subs. He has this video up called The Unbreakable Kryptos Code. And I'm just gonna link the video in the description because he's gonna obviously explain it way better than I can. But basically, there's this dude, Jim Stanborn, and I guess he's like a sculpture artist or some type of artist. And I guess he made a piece for the CIA that has cryptology on it. And he wants people to solve it and all that. And if I'll show the picture of it, it's like a wavy little thing. A lot of people say it's a scroll page or a page out of a book or whatever, but it's a scrolly thing with a bunch of letters on it. And I watched this dude LEMMiNO's video on it, and it's a fantastic video. I watched it all. I don't usually watch 40-minute, 1-hour videos, unless it's in pieces, and I watched it all the way from front to back. And I just couldn't get something out of my head, right? I'm not going to try to solve this. I'm not going to try to, I don't have the patience for cryptology and all that type of puzzle work and all that. In my honest opinion, I just don't have the skill level or patience. But at the end of the day, this is a piece of art, and I couldn't get out of my head after watching the entire video what this dude, Jim Stanborn, is saying, right? Is he saying something? What is this thing anyway? If you see the I'm going to show the picture of it. It's a wavy thing. And over some deliberation, I just feel like I know what it is. And I hate saying that because it makes me think, oh, I know what Kryptos is. But I really do think I have an interpretation. If this dude is an artist, I think this dude who is on record for saying, oh, I'm not even good at math and physics, this, that, and the third. I think this dude wants an artistic representation or interpretation of this sculpture he made or whatever. And at the end of the day, I just couldn't get out of my head that this whole thing that he made is just a sculpture of the Northern Lights. Like the Aurora Borealis and the Aurora Australis. And I just did like some research and I just couldn't get the coincidences out of my head or whatever. And I'm gonna even read K1, K2, and K3. Because once again, it's like apparently the CIA and a lot of cryptologists and everybody split it into 4 pieces. K4 is unsolved, but K1, 2, and 3, we know what they say. And I'm going to read them. I'm going to try to read them. Between subtle shading and the absence of light lies the nuance of illusion. Right. It was totally invisible. How's that possible? They used the Earth's magnetic field. The information was gathered and transmitted underground to an unknown location. Does Langley know about this? They should. It's buried out there somewhere. Who knows the exact location? Only WW knows or something like that. And then et cetera, et cetera. Then the next one is a passage that says like slowly, desperately, slowly, the remains of passage debris that encumber the lower part of the doorway. Blah, blah, blah. I don't even need to read all that is. And somebody has a flame digging through a hole, basically. That's what the third passage is about. Somebody digging through a hole with a candle and peering into this small hole or something and the air coming out and a person discovering something. I'm going to say what that means in a bit. And then there's K4, which is unsolved. And I couldn't get out of my head. And I just started doing research, right? And K1 says, like I said, between subtle shading and the absence of light lies illusion. And I don't see how absence of light could create illusion. But when you think about the Aurora Borealis, you can only see it at night. The absence of light, right? Through shading and absence of light, you see an illusion made out of light or whatever. That's how I'm getting it. And then in K2, oh, it's totally invisible. How is that possible? Oh, they use the Earth's magnetic field. I don't think I need to explain that when it comes to the Aurora Borealis and the Australis or whatever it's called, the Northern Lights, basically. That's what I'm saying, right? That illusion's made from photoelectric effect, and I'm gonna get back into that, right? And the magnetic field, the way electrons bouncing and all that crap, and probably photons and all that. I'm not finna get into all that, right? I got to do way more research for that. And then K3, that passage that I read, it was the dude with the candle and the digging through a hole. It's from and let me look this up so I don't even butcher it because I'll have a script. This passage is from a book where they're uncovering King Tut's tomb in 1922. Keep that year in mind, right? And I'll leave that in the comments. I'll do my little because I'm doing this without a script or whatever. But that K3 is a passage from a book that's talking about like the people who were uncovering King Tut's tomb in 1922, and then K4 is unsolved. And Einstein won the Nobel Prize for photoelectric effect, if I'm not mistaken, in 1922. If not 1921, and he received it in 1922. And the reason he couldn't receive the prize is because I think it was either held in Stockholm or somewhere. He's in Berlin. Einstein is in Berlin, if I'm not mistaken, when he wins that Nobel Peace Prize or has that contribution towards photoelectric effect. Photoelectric effect is one of the main things that's making the northern lights, and I guess the southern lights, that's what we're going to call them, instead of the aurora borealis in Australia, right? And in K2 is saying, like, this is totally invisible. How is that possible? It's the Earth's magnetic field making these things that were in what K1 says, subtle shading and the absence of light. All of a sudden, this impossible thing becomes possible. This illusion that we can see now, you know what I'm saying, is made by the Earth's magnetic field and photoelectric effect. And so he includes a passage from a book talking about people uncovering King Tut's tomb in 1922. And Einstein, during the years of 1921 and 1922, I think Einstein receives his prize in 2022. 1922, Einstein receives his prize for photoelectric effect, the same thing that's making this illusion, the northern lights and the southern lights. And then this guy, Jim Sanborn, includes a passage about an event that happens in 1922 about a sense of discovery. You get what I'm getting at? And so let's get to K4, which is something I'm not going to solve because I don't have the skill. But when you watch the video, and I'll link the video, there's... I almost just spilled my drink. There's artifacts that come out of Kryptos. These are like the words that cryptologists, all the talented cryptologists and people really going to try to crack this. If I'm not mistaken, these are the words that pop out that have a lot to do with K4, right? And we got abscissa, which is something to do with coordinates, a palimpsest, which is like a text or something, like a hidden text or something like that. Then you got the Berlin clock, which is a clock over in Berlin, and I think has two colors and has to do with set theory, and it uses two colors or something to, signal stuff. And then we got east and northeast, if I'm not mistaken, are the other, these two specifically are K4, right? And if I write aurora borealis, and then aurora australis, and if I write particles down, and wasn't there another word? Oh, and obviously east, northeast. But in my honest opinion, I was looking at the letters in these, and I don't think I have an M, right? I don't have an M, but this is just my theory. I'm not even going to try to solve this. I think a lot of the C's and S's and P's you see in here, and the B, I think a lot of this has to do with aurora borealis and aurora australis and particles. I think that these three terms are in K4. That's my honest guess. It's a guess. It's a very loosely educated guess. And east, northeast, I think has a lot to do with the WW from Kryptos. And this WW apparently means William Webster, and I'm going to explain right now. Obviously, I got all this from Wikipedia, but William Webster, I don't know this. William Webster was the CIA director, right? He was the big CIA guy. That's what I'm calling him, big CIA guy. And one of the things you see on his Wikipedia page, I'll say, because I'm not going to pretend like I know stuff or whatever, but this dude engaged in Atlanticism, something like that, and the Atlantic Council. And I think the whole purpose of Atlanticism and Atlantic Council was taking the countries that are on top of the Atlantic Ocean, kind of basically, and the countries near the bottom. I'm going to show a picture of the Atlantic Ocean. But the countries up here and the countries down here, kind of through a NATO, United Nations type of deal, kind of uniting them. You know what I'm saying? Effort to unite these countries, Europe and United States and everywhere that the Atlantic Ocean connects. And if I show the right picture, isn't the Atlantic Ocean connecting the northern and the southern hemispheres on Earth? And these countries, if I show the right picture, it's just a literal beeline, like literally You know what I'm saying? And the United States, and you would figure that the Kryptos itself, the actual art piece that Jim Stanborn, or whatever his name is, built for the CIA, you would figure that the northern and southern lights would be southeast and northeast. Like if Jim Stanborn, the United States, and the CIA, and William Webster, who the CIA guy that's engaging Atlanticism, right? They're over here. And the northern lights and the southern lights would be southeast and northeast to the United States. To me, that's what I'm guessing at, right? So what am I basically trying to say here is that I think Jim Stanborn, this artist, created this wavy little thing that looks like the northern and southern lights with a whole bunch of cryptology on it, basically saying that there's things that we can't see that we can end up seeing. Illusion and quantum. There's one line I forgot to say. At the end of K4, one of the sentences that say people don't get, it says, "Can you see anything Q?" with a question mark. And people who analyze Kryptos are like, what does that even mean? Like, can you see anything Q? Like, does this mean the Q from James Bond or whatever, the Q from this, that, and the third, Star Trek? I think that sentence is saying, can you see anything quantum? You know, kind of discrete energy pattern, you know, quantum mechanics, quantum stuff. And this artist is saying that even though there's some things we can't see and some things we can't decode, some things that are encrypted, some things that are, as K1 says, between subtle shading and the absence of light. And as K2 is saying, something that's supposed to be totally invisible, but the magnetic field gave this answer to us. William Webster knows something about this, right? And K3 is that excerpt about the people discovering King Tut's tomb in 1922. Whereas Einstein was probably in Berlin in 1922 when he was getting praise for contributing to photoelectric effect. And so I think this artist is trying to say, like, when it comes to art and interpretation, all these things, there's a lot of hidden stuff that goes into things. And even letters on Kryptos may be like electrons or the photons in light, like things that we can't really see are making up the things that we obsess over and look at and love and to try to interpret and stuff like that from darkness, from a subtle absence of shading and absence of light. We get this illusion that is the northern lights and the southern lights. And so when this William Webster dude, who's a part of the CIA, engages in this Atlanticism, not only politically, you could connect these countries through the Atlantic Ocean, but it seems like there's something to do with a deeper level of physics and, you know, the way the universe runs and quantum mechanics can also be connected by the Atlantic Ocean. And that's what I think Jim Stanborn's trying to say, and that's why this is a piece on the CIA, you know, at the base, at the headquarters or whatever. I butchered a lot of the explanation, but that's my honest opinion on what Kryptos is saying and what K4 is saying. I do think that Aurora Borealis and Aurora Australis might be, and particles are actual terms that are in K4. Maybe I'm tweaking. Maybe once again, I'm just doing what I do on this channel all the time. I'm connecting things that either should be or shouldn't be connected. But this dude is an artist at the end of the day, and I'm not gonna try to decode it. I don't have the skill level or patience to engage in cryptology, but I think that's my artistic interpretation of what this Jim Stanborn did and what he's trying to do. He was saying in the video, I'm old, like, why aren't people gonna solve it? And I'm like, maybe people are too busy trying to solve it instead of just seeing what it's saying. And now that I look at the wavy Kryptos structure and everything, I can't get the northern lights and the southern lights out of my head or whatever. So maybe that's what he was trying to say. Maybe these are the connections that he's trying to make that, you know. Anyways, I wanted to make this video because I couldn't get it out of my head. I wanted to at least guess or have an interpretation on this dude's work or whatever. So shout out to the LEMMiNO dude who even made this video, or else I wouldn't even know what this was. I did not know what this was until the LEMMiNO dude